Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Built on Purpose, where I have conversations with purpose driven entrepreneurs who are walking in their purpose by using their gifts to build impact in people's lives. And I am so excited to be chatting with Shanice today. Shanice, I met through life coaching. I met through life coaching, if that makes sense. And she has been, and I have been working with her for the last 3 years. I've been working with her, and she has definitely helped me along my journey of healing. And I thought that it would be super important to share with her tonight, because as we are walking in our purpose and doing what God placed on our heart, I think that it's extremely important for us to first and foremost heal. And I think that we tend to leave that to the back burner. Hey Raquel, hey sis. So tonight we're going to be talking with Shanice, and as soon as she come on, we can get started. But if you have any questions for myself or Shanice as we're talking, you can leave them in the comments or you can put them in the question box. So now I'm going to bring Shanice on. There we go. Okay, there we go. Shanice, invite to come on. I don't know why it's not allowing me to request you. Technology, y'all. Shanice, let me know. Can you guys see and hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can see or hear me. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Perfect. Let's see if it will allow me to. All right. And Shanice, when you come back on, send me a request. All right. There we go. Now let's see. Shanice, can you send me a request to join? Y'all, this is giving me trouble. I don't know why. Let's see. There we go.
Let me fix my screen here. Hi.
Hi, beautiful. Technology at its finest.
Okay. No, it's still doing it. Okay. Let me move my thing down.
Okay. I'm sorry. I know I'm a little I'm tall. Hi guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but eventually I'm just going to turn this into a podcast. I think that will be much easier because Instagram has been giving me a lot of trouble when I'm trying to do this, but it's okay. Trial and error. That's what it's all about. There you go. Now
Can you hear me now? Yay.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Hello,
You.
beautiful.
I'm doing
How
well.
you?
How are you?
I'm doing so good. I feel like we must be about to break some chains because it's just been a lot of trouble just trying to get to this part. Oh God. So guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 7. I believe this is episode 7 of my Built on Purpose series, where I connect purpose-driven women together. And today I wanted to talk to Shanice about healing through transparency. So Shanice, when she comes back on, she's going to introduce herself, and then we're going to get our conversation going. And if you have any questions for Shanice or myself, you can put them in the comments, or you can put them in the question box if that's easier.
All of this situation.
So,
I guess I was too high, and now I feel like I'm too low. Okay.
Okay, but I can see you now. Yes, okay, I can see you and I can hear you clearly. Perfect. So let our community know who you are and what you do, and how long have you been in your purpose-driven business?
I am Shanice Michelle. That's what I branded my name under. I got married, so my last name is Coburn. I am a licensed clinical social worker in Arkansas. I have been, I've been in social work since 2012, and then I transitioned into private practice as a mental health therapist. I think in I think I kind of went, I think I started in like 2019 maybe, full time in 2021, at the top of 2021. Yeah, so since 2019, been doing private practice as mental health therapy, and I was doing social work as well, working at the hospital, and then I fully transitioned over into full-time private practice in 2021.
Okay. Wow, that is so good. So how did you even get into the mental health?
I'm glad you asked that. When I went to college, well, I'll take it back to high school. In high school, we had to do a project on what we wanted to do, and I kept saying, I don't know what I want to do. I was like, Mom, I cannot sing, I cannot do hair, all of the physical talents that people have. I didn't feel like I had any of those. And so my mom was trying to help me. She was like, well, you like planning things. So we did like public relations, and I did like I shadowed someone, and I was like, that I want to do. And I really did not know. And then when I got to college, I went to the University of Tennessee my freshman year in Knoxville, and I took a course called College Careers and Majors, and every department head come in and speak to us, and social work is what caught my eye. And because she pretty much told us, you're not just in a school, you can work in a prison, you work health therapist, like you can do a lot of things. And she was like, the job security is there. They always need social workers. So I researched it, and eventually when I came back to Arkansas, I went to the University of Little Rock, the University of Arkansas in Little Rock, Euler, and I got my master's in social work. And pretty much, I didn't really think that I was going to be a therapist. I knew for a fact that I wanted to help women build confidence. I had witnessed my mother was abused in an abusive relationship. All the people that I knew pretty much was in some kind of abusive relationship, and I was like, I'm not taking that direction. And so I said, I really need to help people, my family, build their confidence and have self-esteem, because that's what's keeping them bound in these toxic relationships. So that point I was
Right.
motivated. And then as I got into the career, and then it just kind of transitioned into therapy, because that's really like the first job that I could get. And then all of the opportunities came, and I said I love doing actual therapy. It's a passion of mine at this point.
Yeah. That's a guys, if you don't, before I come and talk to my guests and bring them on, it's always based on something that's in my heart, something that I knew about them, and then I incorporate that with scripture. So our topic is about healing through vulnerability, and I feel like in order for us to really know who we are, we have to do the groundwork. We have to go to the root of the reason why we're sad or angry all the time or whatever they might be. So a scripture stuck out to me, second Corinthians 12:9-10. God is saying, sorry, not God, Paul wrote this. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. And I feel like a lot of us take our hurt and pain and we incorporate that with weakness. So we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to heal from it. We kind of sweep it under the rug and be like, it is what it is. But then now we're trying to become better women, better moms, wives, people, and we're still hurting from things that we swept under the rug. And now we just bleeding all over everybody. And we don't heal. And God says, my grace is sufficient in you. It's okay for you to be weak. It's okay for you to need
Yep.
me. But I'm here for you. And I feel like that's the part that we try to skip over. And I wanted to know, Shanice, why do you feel like we kind of skip over this? We sweep this under the rug. We're women of faith, and we have the Bible, and we quote our favorite scriptures, but we still sweep this stuff under the
One
rug.
reason for sure, and I'll just take it back to personally, nobody wants to feel pain. It's not feel good. Nobody really wants to feel the pain. And so a lot of times when you're having to be vulnerable, when you're having to heal, you have to go back in your childhood and deal with things, it's very painful. Nobody wants to be crying for days in. Nobody wants to just feel like you are wide open. That's difficult for us. And then,
Yeah.
especially if you grew up in a household where emotions weren't discussed, they weren't welcome, you were kind of told you don't have a voice here, So a lot of times it's unfamiliar. And so when you start to feel ooh, I'm crying, I feel weak, and sometimes you do feel literally weak, If you've cried so much, you start to feel literally your body feels weak, and you was like, I don't have strength. And I love the fact that you picked that scripture, because it's like God is saying, one, I want you to need me. You definitely need me. And to really properly
Yeah.
heal, you need him. You need God to walk you through this journey. But then also, it's so profound, because there's another scripture that I like to quote with that, and it's the one that says, God has begun a good work in me, and he will, it will not be done pretty much until the day of completion. And so my clients, I'm telling them
Yes.
that should give you grace, because you're like, oh, I don't have to be perfect, because God is going to be continuously working on me, working through me. So I don't have to rush this journey, because it's ongoing, which is why, I talk about dynamic healing. Like, my first business was Dynamically Esteemed. And I was pretty much going in the direction like, healing is a dynamic process, and you're going to continuously be healing. Like, it is something that you need to just embrace. And a lot of times we want to get over the tough part and get to the good part. And so people don't want to be wide open, because it doesn't feel good. And then you don't know how long it's going to last. If it has a date, you'd be like, okay, I know in a week I'm going to be good. It's kind of like when people are detoxing. when you are detoxing from
Yes.
drugs or detoxing from even prescription drugs or whatever, medication, when you're detoxing, your body is going through withdrawals. So you may feel fatigue, you may feel weak, your stomach may hurt, you may vomit, all of that stuff. And a lot of times when you think about it in your mind, you're like, this is a gruesome process. I never want to experience this again. So we kind of tell ourselves, like, I'm not going down
Yeah.
that road no more. Like, anything that's gonna make me cry, I'm not about to do
Mm.
it. Anything that's going to make me feel heartbreak, I'm not gonna open myself up. And so what I teach my
Right.
clients is, one, you're not in control because it's gonna happen. You're not in control. And two, you don't have to rush the process. Like, stop putting an end date on your healing because it's going to be ongoing. You may not feel heartbroken, continuously. That's not the goal. But
Right.
you're going to be constantly having to deal with things and bringing things up. So embrace the process and just get started.
Let's get started. That is so true. So I've been working with Shanice in a different capacity. We've been doing life coaching together, and I have definitely had ugly moments where I wasn't trying to do it, but trying to listen because I didn't want to face it. But once you allow yourself to open up and start to get to the root of why you feel the way you feel, or why you experiencing certain things, or why God keep making you repeat the same thing over and over because you ain't listened the first time, like, it opened up so much other things for me. Like, my confidence in my business grew, my confidence in life grew. I set boundaries, like real boundaries for
Yeah.
people, and I stuck with them. Like, I ain't break, but because I was able to kind of just do the groundwork. And yes, like Shani said, that experience is ugly and it's hard, but it's so important
Right.
because God wants us to be free. He
Mm-hmm.
wants us to
I
be
love
new.
that. I love that. And you transform,
Right.
literally, and I will let you talk about your journey, but I've seen you transforming, like, just the fact that you are continuously doing these lives, you're thinking of the topics. Even when you sent your email to me, I was like, okay, get it in. Because I remember last year before graduation and leading up to graduation, you was like, or even after graduation, I don't know what I want to do. And I was like, that's typical. A lot of times we say, hey, this is my career path.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it happens, it's like, what's next? I don't know the direction. You need God. And it's still some stuff you got to unlock, like spiritually, emotionally, you got to mentally a lot of times. So to see you pushing through because it's not easy, you still things, but
No.
pushing through, showing up, like, I just being so proud. I just feel like, look at her. Oh my God. But you did the work.
Oh, thank you. Don't make me cry today. But it's it has been like it has been a journey. Like, when I started working with Shanice, this was like 3 years ago. I was finishing up my first degree. Actually, I was finishing up my bachelor's, and I had my women's empowerment brand. And I took my women's empowerment brand and I kind of transitioned into web design because God was leading me and kept like nudging me to do more with these women. And I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to do? I ain't about to be nobody's preacher. I ain't about to be nobody's coach. It ain't happening. I just want to be over here in my bubble. Like, I don't want nobody to see me. Like, I just want to help send out my little inspirational messages and go sit my butt down. Like, that was good for me. And God was challenging me to show up more. So why not use one of my gifts? Web design. I love doing it. I love creating. I'm a visionary. So the process of taking the idea and bringing it to life, like, that excites me. But as I was doing web design, he started to show me other things that were already here, because it was just like, God, you about to tell me to walk away from everything we just built. Like, you changing the plan. Hold up now. I don't want to do this. And it was like web design was no longer fun for me. Like, I didn't enjoy it. I worked nonstop. I felt empty. I felt non existent in anything that I was doing. I just felt like a robot. And I'm like, if I want to be a robot, I'll just keep my 9 to 5. Like, that wasn't the plan, God. You messing it up. And what he was doing was awakening something that was already inside of me. Because when I started working with Shanice, she didn't know me from a can of paint. She was like, oh, you're going to be a speaker and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. But the funny thing is, she's not the first person that told me that. Somebody told me this back in 2017 when I was contemplating suicide. And when I started going to therapy back then, that my therapist spoke over me and said, like, your voice is going to heal people. And I didn't understand what that meant. I was like, I don't even like the sound of my voice. We ain't about to do that, sis. And I swept it under the rug. But then as I kept growing and kept working and kept going through this process, I was so stuck and frustrated because now I took out loans for my business and I'm so invested and I got clients that are relying on me and I feel like I'm letting them down because I don't want to do what they want me to do. Like, they want me to design websites. I'm good at this. God, I'm good at this. Just let me stay. And I just couldn't do it. And I closed my laptop. I shut down the business and I called Shanice, was like, I don't know what to do. Stuck. I'm about to graduate with my master's degree and my plan was to graduate, walk away from corporate America, and the plan is failed. I don't know what to do. And then she told me to go back to the conversation that you and God had when you first started your business. Interesting. Okay. So I picked up my journal and I'm reading my notes, and God told me to help women build. I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing. And I just had to kind of just walk away from it. Like, I read it, I walked away from it. It still wasn't processing. And then I graduated and I hit a brick wall. And Shanice was like, it's okay. It's going to come to you. It's all right. But at this point, I still owe bills to this business that I ain't running. I ain't making money. I ain't got no clients. What am I doing? And I said, you know what? I'm just going to embrace me. I'm just going to love on me, keep pouring into me, keep working on me, and who knows what will happen. I did that. Still working with Shanice. I started doing the fast. I told her I was going to do a fast, and she said, okay, make sure you have intentions when you do the fast. It don't be fasting just to be fasting. So I said, okay, cool. All right, God, I need you to give me clarity and direction of what I'm supposed to do with this business, because all you told me to do is build, and that ain't enough. Like, that's not enough. I'm writing in my journal, and literally everywhere I saw a word, it was like, build this. But like, I just kept seeing the word build everywhere, and it was frustrating me. And I said, I don't want to do this no more. And then I went back to Shanice, had a conversation with her, and she was like, embrace it. Like, you're running from it. Like, why are you running from this thing? And then we started doing more groundwork. Well, I don't want to be a business coach because what the hell I'm going to teach somebody? Oh, so you doubting yourself. Oh, so now we starting to, oh, so I still got more work to do. Oh, come on now, God. Like, just give me the answer. Like, what do you want me to do? And he said, Nafisa, build. Help my daughters build. That is what I need you to do. So I said, okay, I'm going to build. And I literally went back to the drawing board, and I went back to my notes, and everything that I am building now was sitting in my laptop for 2 years.
And you know, I think it was the whole time what you were missing is there was a lot of, you are gifted and talented at being vulnerable with people, and that's something that you wasn't getting from the web design. Is I want to be able to share and be vulnerable and help people be vulnerable and help people heal in ways that I can't do when I'm doing web design. Like, and that's helping me, but your voice is really like strong. And I just see it every time that you get on here. You are being transparent, and vulnerability, that's not a word. Vulnerability doesn't always feel good, but like when I see you on here and you're crying and you read your scriptures and stuff, like that connects with people. And this is what I teach people when we talk about being vulnerable: is vulnerability unlocks trust. Vulnerability, it attracts people in a way, it bonds people. And that's why, we have to be careful that we're not, what they say, trauma bonding, because a lot of times if you meet somebody and they're going through the same thing that you're going through, it's like, oh, I feel connected with them. But then we have discernment.
Yes.
Because sometimes we feel connected with people because of our past experience, not realizing that we're going to grow past this trauma. And then what do we have in common?
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty is that you're
Right.
able to allow God to show you, hey, this is a part of you that maybe is kind of untouched, it's untapped. We kind of need some healing in that, but you can help people walk them through the process of what that looks like to heal in those ways. And I just appreciate that about you. Your vulnerability is glowing. Like,
oh, thank you. Oh, my mom just said, oh, yes, remember mommy told you that God used you in the process of building mommy up. Yes. So my mom is like a remarkable woman. She's 17 years clean and sober. And I remember dropping out of college, like early when I first started college, because my mom was still using. So I didn't grow up with my mom. Like my dad got custody of me young, so I didn't have that like mother daughter, experiences that women go through, because my mom was battling with drug addiction. So when I got to college, it was still like a sensation over me. Like I had to save my mom. And my sister was like, you need to focus on school. You're young. I don't want you to go through what I went through, going down that road. And I was like, God told me to try. That's it. And I was like, I am determined to find out where my mom is, where she at, what she's doing. And everybody knew where she was at, but they didn't want to tell me because I haven't seen her in so long. And it was like, you're not going to recognize her. And I was like, that's my mother. I don't care. Take me to her, or I'm just going to be going to the old neighborhood, just knocking on doors. And when I found her, my mom didn't look like herself. Like, she didn't look like herself. And it broke my heart. But I was like, you can't do this anymore. Like, whatever is holding you bound or holding you down, Mom, you have to let that go. Because we need you. Like, I need you. I grew up without you, and I'm not going the rest of life without you. So I just ministered to her how she would do me, or how someone would do me. But that was all God, because when people are battling with addiction, they're in a different mindset. So my mom's mindset was like, she was very defeated and she was very overwhelmed, and I was the mother in that case. I was like, sis, toughen up. We about to do this. Like, you want to do this? Yeah, no, because we ain't about to be. We ain't doing this back and forth no more. Okay, we're not doing this. I put my foot down. I found the rehab center thanks to my boss back then at my job. I was like, all you got to do is say yes. And then my mom just started crying. Wow. She was like, I was just praying about this yesterday. I said, oh, so God sent me right on time. Oh, so you ready, sis? Cool. But the crazy thing was that the rehab appointment wasn't for like, when we went to the rehab appointment, she didn't have like a place yet. Like, it was no rooms available. And my mom pleaded with this man, like, I can't go back there. Like, I'm ready to move on from this. And the guy was like, I need you to give me 3 days. If you give me 3 days, I will hold this. I will find you a place. 3 days. My mom held on for 3 days. And she's 17 years clean. And she's about to graduate with her master's.
That's amazing.
So if I am the general curse breaker of my family, then God keep using me. Because in order for me to even get to that point in that place with my mom, I had to start my healing process. I wasn't all healed back then, but I was starting. But if I'm the generational curse breaker of my family, then God used me. And I feel like it's so important for us to heal, because you are the chosen one of your family. Your family is waiting for you to get in alignment. because I got in alignment, my mom is clean and graduating with her master's degree. My mom went to school because she saw I went to school, and I was like, "What? You got your degree? I want one too. All
I
right,
love
sis,
it.
let's do
I
it then." Okay, I'm an entrepreneur, and now my older sister and my nieces, like everybody is tapping into it because they see that I did it and it's possible. And I still got more work to do, but it's like I had to go through the ugly stuff so my family can get the best
I
of
love
me.
that. And I'm so glad you talked about your mom because, one, a lot of times when we're healing, we have to go back. We got to go back to childhood, and sometimes it doesn't feel good when you're dealing with abandonment, you know? And sometimes, you know, we can't, it's hard to get out here and display that vulnerability when we haven't been real with ourselves. Like, I feel abandoned, I feel lost, and it's okay to feel those things. But it's important to heal, because if you were still stuck and feeling like resentment towards your mom, you wouldn't have been able to go there and say, let me pull you out. You know, you wouldn't have been able to do that if you were still looking at her like, you wasn't here for us, you was doing this, instead of seeing the faults as, hey, we can turn this into a strength. You know, that's still my mom, that's still someone I love, that's still someone that I want to protect. And it's just great that you said that, because I tell people every time, my mom is a domestic violence survivor, which I'm on the board of a women's shelter as a survivor, but it's not because it was directly me, it's because second generation. Anyway, every time that I tell her story, I tell people I am my mom's living legacy. So I am able to tell the story that she didn't get to tell, or that she doesn't have the words for, that she doesn't have the strength for. She's not vulnerable enough. My mom, when we grew up, my mom was very emotionally unavailable. My dad was a difficult husband. He was an alcoholic. It was very chaotic. And my mom just didn't really have much for us as far as mothering goes. She wasn't very nurturing in the fact of, like, she gave us hugs and kisses, but anything else other than that, she didn't have time for. She could hold grudges for days upon days. And I remember being a little girl and being like, Mommy, are you still mad? Mommy, what can I do to make you feel better? That translated into people pleasing, because every time somebody got mad at me, I'm like, I'm going to make sure that you stay mad at me. And so I'm out here chasing people because be mad at me, but you gotta go back and be like, dang. But then you have to see that person as, I gotta walk in love. I gotta walk in forgiveness, because I'm able to see them as Christ sees them. Then at the addiction, I'm not looking at the domestic violence. I'm not looking at my mom being emotionally unavailable. I'm seeing that, hey, there were deficits that they had that I would never understand. And they did the best that they could with what they had. So I have to go with that and be like, okay, we got to move past that. And so I just think it's amazing that you could be your mom's living legacy. Like, even though she's living, you know, you could tell the story before she's tell the story. And then when she gets a place where she's like, okay, it's time for me to put my testimony out there, it'll just blend, because then you have mom and daughter. And I didn't even realize that when I became a social worker, my grandmother told me probably 2 years ago. So I've been doing this almost 10 years. And my grandmother was like, you know, I went to school to be a social worker. And I was like, no. She was like, yeah, I had to drop out because I had children. I had to take care of my children. It was going to be too much. And I had to work. But that's why I was like, wow. So my grandmother wanted to be a social worker, and I ended up being a social worker. My mother tell me all the time, like, the fact that you are where you are, despite where we came from, despite, like, we had to go stay in a women's shelter for it was about 2 months. It's been a while now since I was probably like 7 or 8 in the summer. We had to stay at the women's shelter. The fact that now I am on the board at the very women's shelter that we stayed on, and God orchestrated that, like, yeah. So it's like I get to live out the things that my family weren't able to do. I was the first person on my I was the first person in my generation to graduate with a master's and the first person to complete a 4-year degree in my generation. So it mean a lot, you know, and not college degrees and stuff, because
Yeah.
we're learning as entrepreneurs, like you start to be like, dang, I didn't actually have to get that, you know what I'm saying? But uh,
Right.
but
Oh,
it
okay.
is a level of accomplishment that nobody has reached, and it makes you feel good. But you have to go to vulnerable places to be able to get here, to be able to heal. So I just loved it. I really do.
Yes, that's amazing. And Tiffany, called to be wise, said there comes a point when we have to stop letting our past hold us hostage and walk in our calling. God wastes nothing. And that is so true. Like none of the experiences that I've gone through or that we've gone through was in vain. Like it all came back full surface, and it makes sense. Like now I'm like, after everything my mom went through, she's studying to be a substance abuse counselor. And it's like, it's just nothing that I went through was in vain. And I felt like it was like so unfair. Like, why me? Why did it have to be me? But it had to be me. Like, I, it had to be me. I'm the chosen one. And I had to
Right.
learn to be okay with that. I had to learn to be okay with that. And I started to look at my experiences in life different. Like you talked about surviving a domestic violence situation. I was in a domestic violence situation for 2.5 years, and that was the reason why I got into entrepreneurship. Like I started entrepreneurship in 2014. Like when we met, it was 2017. That's when I had the women's empowerment brand. But I had a lipstick company in 2014 that I built. But of course, I closed it down because I was in a physically abusive relationship and I couldn't even think straight. But I started in entrepreneurship because I needed a outlet for myself. Like it was like I can't tell my family what I'm going through because then they'll be looking at me like I'm crazy. So I need something for me. And that was entrepreneurship. I got to create and talk to people and network with people and do all these different things. But when I lost the lipstick company, it just was like, oh well, I don't know what my thing is. Have no clue. And then when I started therapy at the Contemplating Suicide, and that preacher prophesied over me, like your
Mm.
voice is going to save people. And then when when I finally let my family know that I was in a physically abusive relationship and all that stuff like that, and then I start telling them my story, my mom was like, oh, well, you've been doing this since me. And when I had to sit and think about it, like, what you mean? She was like, well, I was your first client. Like, my mother tell everybody that. I was my
Yep.
baby's first
Yep.
client. That's what she tell everybody. And I'm like, wow, like now I'm looking about like that was so true. Nothing that I went through was in vain. It hurt. The process was hard, but I had to go through all those
And I think
experiences
that's
to get
amazing.
here.
Like God orchestrate things down to a T, because it makes me think about uh I don't want to get it wrong. I want to say Hannah, somewhere down the line. Uh, if you study the Bible, people know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was Hannah when she was crying out to God for a child, and she had Samuel. But I really feel like one of them ladies down the pipeline who was barren, and God opened their womb. It led back, their legacy led back to Jesus, and so it makes me think of
Oh yes, yes.
okay, okay, yep.
Elizabeth, Elizabeth
But
and
it
Mary was
wasn't
pregnant at the
yes,
same.
those two, yep, yes,
Those two, no, but you
like
said it led to the
years
legacy of
upon
Jesus.
years upon years.
Oh,
Okay, okay, okay,
Sarah,
yeah.
Abraham's wife.
And
He
I think a
started
lot of
the
that,
he
because we're
started the
all tied
lineage
back to
of
that.
Jesus.
Eventually, it's gonna lead to Jesus, anyways. But
Right.
it was a specific story that when you read the lineage, that particular. I really think.
Yeah. Oh no, Tiffany said yes. It was
And it
Hannah in the
leads back
temple.
like that, like, because who was it? Penaniah was his other wife, and but Hannah's child specifically led back to Jesus. So it makes me
All right, I
think
gotta go read the
of,
story of Hannah.
and I have a friend who has a brand called Hope Like Hannah. And it's based on that. Her fertility journey is based on that. But it makes me think about how what you said with your mom and stuff, like literally the things that they go through, like it leads back to us, and then we eventually discover that that they went through this and they went through that, and that's why we had to go through this and all of this stuff. Like he just orchestrates it so strategically, but it's like beautiful. Like it's a beautiful
Yes.
uncovering. And I think that like when we're healing, we don't see that a lot of times. We want to look like we got it together. We want to look like we're already there, but it's that beautiful unfolding of pain, abuse, violence, and all of the things that lead us to these beautiful moments that we get to share now. But we start learning. Like my grandma went through this, my great grandma went through this, but I was able to overcome. So it's
Yeah.
I think it's dynamic. I love that. And I also, this is what I really want to say, because I have, I've been off for a year or so, after I have, like once I got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So like I started entrepreneurship and then I got pregnant, and then that went downhill because I was sick. I couldn't really do it. The money went up, everything. So I'm build her up.
Right.
Come on now. I'm building
Right.
again, and I decided that this time around I wanted to specifically work with men and women who are healing after a traumatic breakup. Like that is my jail. That is my thing, because 2014,
Mm-hmm.
I had to go through the process of healing after a traumatic breakup. And so I was like, I know
Right.
that journey. I know that journey very well. And a lot of times after we break up with someone, we want to rediscover ourselves. People want to cut their off. They want to color their hair. They change
Mm-hmm.
their wardrobe. They're going to get a degree because it's
Yes.
almost like, you going to see what you missed. You know what I'm saying?
You are
And we do all
yes.
of that, but then once everything is said and done, you're left with that still don't fulfill me, because we're doing it for somebody else. But when we really allow God to sit with us and allow him to comfort us and allow him to uncover those layers that need exposure, hid it so long.
Right.
Just like you said, you were in a domestic violence an abusive relationship. There were things you had to uncover, you had to expose, you had to be vulnerable enough with yourself to say, I chose someone and I allowed someone to do the things that maybe I said I would never do, or I knew better. You have to do that process. And I think it's important that people see that it starts with you. People gonna tell you all day every day, but it starts with you, and you have to be vulnerable enough with yourself. Like, I was the problem.
Absolutely.
I was the problem. God told me not to do that, and this is the result. Just go through that process. So my mission now is to help people that are transitioning after a traumatic breakup, a breakup in general, and just needing self-development tools for the right reasons. We can go get a degree. We can do all of these things, and it be for the wrong reasons. Our motives are all wrong, and God not gonna bless that. Like, you're gonna have to sustain that on your own. And I know that personally, firsthand. And then we live with all kinds of things like doubt and self-worth from a relationship when that shouldn't have been your foundation in the first place. Yeah. Like, you shouldn't have been looking at yourself like, okay, I'm the prized possession with him. That's not, a lot of times people take these scriptures and, misinterpret them and make themselves feel better, but the motive behind it is wrong, and God didn't intend it like that, which is a lot of times people say we leave in the church and we da-da-da, because the scripture is misinterpreted, I just love the fact that you have this platform and you're able to allow people to be vulnerable, to be transparent. You're doing it, you're leading by example and showing people, hey, It ain't always pretty, but it is a beautiful uncovering of deep, dark things that leads to a powerful message.
Yes, that is so that is the whole foundation of me as being a coach, walking into this season that God called me to. I want to help women build on a foundation, a strong, solid foundation in who God created us to be. Because as soon as a new trend pop out, or somebody say something to hurt your feelings, or
Yep.
somebody plant a seed of doubt in your head and you let it grow, you crumble. But if your foundation is strong, you can be like, okay, you just a hater. Okay, I'm pushing you to the
Right.
side. I'm eliminating you from my life, and I'm going about my business. I'm setting a boundary. Like, I know that I can't deal with you on this level. We could be cordial. Like, it's okay to go through those things. Like, it's okay to set boundaries. Like, I literally have I literally will work myself to death because I was trying to chase this need of trying to find myself. So I'm like staying up all night, barely getting any sleep, chasing something. And I can't even tell you what it was, but I know I was tired as hell while I was doing it. And when you always encourage me to go back to my notes and go back to those conversations that I have with God, it's like it's already in you, Nafisa. Like it's just, as you grow and as you develop and learn and invest in yourself, it I'm gonna continue to unveil it.
Right.
And I ain't gonna give it to you
Yep.
all at once because you may not be ready. But as you continue on this journey with me, because it's a journey, it's not just a one and done, you, I'm gonna reveal to you. But it's already in you. But we out here seeking validation from people that don't even
Right.
like
Oh, that part.
themselves.
That part.
They don't even like themselves. So why do you want them to pour into you and like you and
And
love
you
on you? They don't even love them.
recognize
So
that,
it was like,
like, and a lot of times people are not able to recognize it. They don't recognize when people are reckless because they just want any kind of validation. If yeah, like
anytime.
we skip that piece that first of all, if they don't, it's I guess it's just cues. Is like social cues that you can see, and if you really understand human behavior and you understand how people operate, you can look at certain things and be like, she doing it for attention, even though sometimes she don't know she doing it
Yes.
for attention, which is the beautiful thing
No,
in
not at all. No,
coaching
not at all.
because you are, formulating your ideal client, and you're, even though when you're researching, you're, I guess you're putting a package together and make it on the outside this is what they think they need, but on the inside this is what they really need, and because you understand your
Oh,
people. So I think that's important too. Like once you start to understand human behavior and people and how they operate and stuff, then you can be like, she can't pour into me because she not truly secure as she make it seem to be.
it, exactly. It just sounds like a lot of noise. And I feel like a lot of people, that leads into one of my points that I wrote down. A lot of people have so many misconceptions about being vulnerable, where it's like, oh, you telling too much, or you telling too much of your business, kind of hold some stuff back. So like, what's that? What is that? The fine line between being vulnerable and then you just seeking attention.
I always tell people it's about your motives. So if you are
Mm.
expressing yourself and you are sharing a story or something, what's the motive behind it? What are you wanting people to know? Like, is this going to help them? Is this going to transfer them? Is this going to allow them to grow? Or is this about you and your ego and you're sharing because you want sympathy, or you want people to think that some people thrive on the hard knocks. So when you look at their bio, everything is, from the hard knocks, I had a rough life, this, that, and because people glamorize that. And then you find out later on that they life wasn't that hard, and you know what I'm saying? You just be like, what in the world? So like you done said
Like,
all
what
of
is
this
that?
vulnerable stuff, but it was lies, or you said it like your motive's wrong. It's not helping people, and then people start to take that and be like, something wrong with her, or it starts to be too much, and so I think it is honestly
Yeah.
about your motives. Um, a lot of times checking your motives. Why am I sharing this? Because if I really want people to transform and grow, and I've healed enough to where it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't bother me if I get pushed back. It doesn't bother me, if people start saying something about it, because I've healed from that level of trauma or hurt or pain or whatever, that I can share it. So like when I first started talking about my breakup in 2014, I had done a lot of the inner work. So when to put it out, it
Mm-hmm.
didn't bother me who said something, like if my ex had something to say or his girlfriend had something to say, because it was like, that's my story, that's my truth. I'm gonna put it like I want to, because I want people to
Right.
be aware, so I think it's about the motive. Like, what are you wanting people to get from these stories, or your level of vulnerability? And then you also have to be, have discernment, because sometimes it may not be the setting.
Yeah.
Like for example, as a therapist, when you're working with clients, and let's say you're doing group therapy, we had a therapist one time who was in a group setting with teenagers. They were from like I guess in lack of a better words, the rough part of town, and it was a group of it consisted of mainly Black boys and girls, teenagers. And there was a white therapist who came in, and she was trying to relate to them. And so she was telling them all of the drugs that she had done, but she did not read the room, because sometimes when you're
Right.
vulnerable, you have to be able to, and especially as a therapist, you have to have enough wisdom to understand that, is this harming people? Is this going to make me look crazy? Or are they gonna be like, you my therapist, but this, you know what I'm saying? She hadn't established
Right.
enough
Right.
rapport with them to tell them all of that. So the message came across like, you crazy, like, why is she a therapist and she's talking about all these drugs and stuff, you know um so that plays a role in it too, like discernment and having wisdom when I'm sharing things, because not everybody is going to take this the way you intended it, and it may not be the time. Maybe you're still healing, and so you get a little pushback, and it's like, whoop, I'm not gonna say anything anymore, because people just don't accept me, da da da. Then it's a soft spot.
Mm-hmm.
You need to work on that, because you're going to get
Yes.
some pushback, some scrutiny, depending on the setting. So I think it's a lot of factors, but honestly, motives and wisdom when we're sharing things and we're being vulnerable. But I always tell my clients and whoever I work with, it starts with you first. Like, you need to be able to be truthful, vulnerable with yourself first, then go from there. If we have a
Yes. Yes.
platform, then once we've done enough work, and if we're not there as we're going
Mm-hmm.
along the journey, we're letting them know, hey, I'm being transparent, I'm being open, because I want y'all to see the ugly parts of this lifestyle. So when it happens to
Right.
you, you know what to do.
Right. And I feel like that's so important, because that is why I feel now, as much, and you've seen it, as long I've been running away from coaching. And back then I didn't even feel like I was ready or like prepared, because it was still a lot of stuff that I needed to, get through myself. Like, how am I gonna pour into somebody and I'm jacked up and I'm not even doing,
Right.
X, Y, and Z. But now, when I started just like, okay, sharing my truth, like, this is my life, this is who I am. Like, I love God, I drink wine, and I cuss. That's it. Like, and sometimes I have to be so, like, when I be talking to my mother, it just come out and she be looking at me like, oh, I'm so sorry, please forget. Like, it's like, but this is just like, this is me. I'm working on it, but these are the vibes that you're going to get. Like, I'm not pretending to be anybody else. Like, but when I'm pouring into people or trying to direct people, it's like, I want you to see who I really am, because God's not going to bless who you pretend to be. Like, so this is me. This is Nafisa. This is how I do life. Like, I pray, I meditate, I read my scripture, I read my word, like I read my Bible, I highlight, I journal, like all the things that I suggest or I tell people that I do, I actually, I really do it. Like, and I'm telling you to do it or experience it because it helped me. It saved me. Now, you may find a different way to do it. You may get a different set of clarity while you're doing it. But when you are healing, you get to set values in your life and live it. Like, it becomes a lifestyle. Like, me and God relationship, it's this is a lifestyle. This is my life. This ain't just for, for show. Like, this is who I am. He convicts me on a daily basis. Like, I have to answer for things that I said I was going to do and didn't do. And I also have to make sure that I'm treating the people that he is bringing into my life, I'm treating them right. Because they his. They don't belong to me. I'm just a vessel out here. And I feel like we get so hung up on my business, my brand. Baby, that thing not yours. How about that? That thing not yours. You just a vessel. You a helper. Because it wasn't your vision.
Right.
It was already inside of you. I feel like that part go over people's head. Like, it wasn't your vision. It was already inside of you. But life started happening. And then, God started planting seeds and putting you in certain rooms and situations. And then they start blossoming into this thing. But we hold on to it. Mine. And then when it messes up, now we want to run to God. No, sis. It don't work that way.
Then we were like, okay, God, fix it and fix it now. And it's like, it's a process. Right. It's kind of like when, the statistics have changed, but when I first got into social work, the statistics was like, it takes women 7 times to leave an abusive relationship. Like, they'll try like up to 7 times before they actually do it. Not there's an exception, whatever. But it's almost like that. And it's like, every time you go back, it's worse, and you set yourself back even more. Every time it's like, right. God is like, hey, I want you to address this. I want you to be able to confront this. I want you to help people in this capacity. And you start and then you stop. Then when you start over, first of all, it takes forever to start over. And the process is longer. And then you have to go through so much to get back where you are. And I think it's like that spiritually too. Like, once you on fire for God and you're doing stuff and, being obedient, you listening, and then you get off track and you get distracted. It's so hard to come back, and then you be like, now I got to get me back in the routine of trying to hear God again. And it's taking me forever, and I got a journal, and I ain't as patient now, so it really is like, when we do it, keep going, keep striving, keep pushing, because every time that you stop, or every time you get distracted, on this journey, every time you get discouraged and you give up, it makes the process harder.
Harder, longer. You waste time, you waste money, you waste energy, and you exhausted. Like, you can't run from your calling. It's already attached to you, sis. Like, so stop trying. You wasting time. So it's like, I'm just gonna surrender. All right, God, because I tried it my way. It ain't working. Right. And let's do it your way.
When people say that, that's another thing about when we're helping people, coaching, therapists, whoever, and not so much as therapy, because they teach you, like, to self-disclose when it's appropriate. So you kind of have to be, careful. But in other aspects, coaching and stuff, it's important to tell people when you mess up. That helps them when you're vulnerable enough to say, I didn't do it right. I apologize. Or, when you say, hey, God told me to do something, y'all, and I've been in the backfield just looking and waiting, and I've been holding y'all up, that level of vulnerability and transparency is what draws people to you. And they like, that's why I like, I don't necessarily agree with everything Cardi B does. But I really like her because she is vulnerable. She's transparent, and she don't. And she'll say, "I put this up on Instagram, and y'all went crazy about it, and it hurt my feelings or whatever." But she still say it, and people love that. That's like with Mary J. Blige. People love Mary J. Blige with her when she came out with all her heartbreak songs and stuff. People relate to pain, And so when she had all that. Let's pop, they was like, we like it, but we kind of like the old Mary with the, and the night, we really like that Mary or whatever. But you'd be like, I've evolved, I've changed. But people love that. They love, it's crazy because people will say, and I have clients do it all the time, where it's like, when you upset, I went and listened to this music and it made me cry. You'd be like, why? If you already depressed, why you keep listening to that?
Like change the station.
But that's just like when people say negative things about you. Like if you post something on Instagram and then people start commenting and you see all the negative comments and you hear a lot of people address the negative and not so much the positive. We do it to ourselves. We tell ourselves all things, and it's like, girl, but look at what you have done. Like all the things that God did bring you through. Like let's focus on that part. So yay.
Wow, that is good, and that brings me to my next question. So, how can we create safe spaces for vulnerability within our community? Because like one thing that you always tell me to do is, set those boundaries in my life and stick with them. Like because when you're at a space of healing, everybody may not get it right away, and that's okay. But if you set that boundary in place and you stick with it, it's like, okay, I'm taking her serious. Like I know I can't try her because like that's what she want to do.
Creating safe space. Tell me what you mean a little bit. Like my mind kind of go a couple of places.
Oh, okay. So like a safe space. So like in my friend group, like like me, I was like the people pleaser. That for me was my way of showing people, love me. I'm a great person. I'm a great woman. But now in my community, I created a safe space where it's like, all right, I'm still gonna be here for y'all, of course, because this is who I am. But it's gonna be some boundaries. Like, don't just call me when you need me, or don't just gravitate me because now I'm become safe today. It's like, no, this is my boundary. I need my time. Like, and my friends get that. So it's like, oh, Nafi going on live tonight. We can't call her, text her, whatever like that. Like I created that boundary, but within my community, that's my that safe space.
So
if that makes sense.
As the social work side of me is what came out, because we learn micro, meso, and macro. So when you say a safe space in the community, like, is that a community inside a community? Like, I would just win a whole bunch of places. Okay. Anyway, creating safe space really to me is having transparent but open communication and allowing people to make mistakes without you, what's that phrase, like pinning them to the cross, allowing people to grow, to expand without you putting them in a box. And sometimes that's hard. And I feel like it all goes back to self-evaluation first, like me being aware what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and then displaying that to other people. Like, so for example, like with you were like the mom figure for everybody. Everybody came to you, mom, and then you was like, but who helping you? Like, I'm helping you. So with that said, so I feel like the best way is, one, honor yourself, honor the space that God gave you, because first you have to be a good manager of the body that God gave you, and that comes first, and then I can present that to other people and share with them what I've done. But if I want people to look at me and view me as a safe space, then I have to allow them to make mistakes. I have to allow them to, while I'm building them up, I also have to be like, speak the truth in love. Like, this didn't gel well with me. I've been finding here lately, I'm showing a lot of clients how to confront conflict, you know, where and showing that when we're avoiding it, the source of avoiding, like what does that lead to? But you're enabling people and you're not helping. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping them. So kind of like modeling, you know. If I model what I want this community to be like, but if I model, it's almost like that golden rule: treat people how you want to be treated too, in a healthy way. Because some people is like, I've met some clients that you just be like, girl, where you get that from? But just kind of modeling what being a safe space, like, you know, and then understanding when you're not safe for yourself, and you're not safe for other people. You know, it's kind of like, if you are transparent and vulnerable enough to do some self-assessments, and then you'll be like, oh, I'm the problem, and let me tell people that I'm the problem. And a lot of times it is like learning the language. We have all these feelings, thoughts, emotions, but we don't have the language, and we don't know how to express that to people. So if we got to go to therapy, if you got to get coaches or whatever, but visualizing what safety looks like. And I think it's important to heal those wounds. Otherwise, you're not going to know how to help other people or how to be a safe space. For example, you know, when you meet people and you try and tell them, hey, you put it back on you, so you're doing all the things right. You're saying, I feel like yesterday when I came to you and told you that I was going through a difficult time in my relationship, I feel like you made it about yourself. You know, you didn't really validate what I was feeling. I get that a lot when you're doing couples counseling, because people they want to look, let me slow down in my thoughts. You want to get your point across, but you don't want to hear no. And so it's like teaching people how to validate, how to go back and be like, so what I heard you say was da 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 da. So they can be like, yeah. Like, I feel heard. I feel seen now. That's important. Yes. And then it's important to be like, I'm not really safe right now. Like, y'all don't need to be telling me y'all business, because I'm kind of in a space where I'm just telling everybody business right now. And that was me at one point in time. Like, when people would be like, okay, don't tell so-and-so, I would be quick to be like, hey, girl, so do you know? And I had to get to a place where I was like, girl, you can't do that. Because, you know, drama started popping off, and I was at the butt of the drama. And I was like, I don't like that. You know, so then I had to be like, okay, I got to be a safe space for people. For example, I had a friend, and you know, you can easily take advantage of people when you understand who they are. So for example, I have a friend, and she don't necessarily speak up for herself or whatever. So a lot of times people can do something, she's not gonna say nothing. And I have been telling her all the time, like, you need to tell me when I've done you wrong. You need to tell me when you feel in some type of way. Yeah. And finally, this year she did, because she did a TikTok video and she lost a ton of weight, right? And when she did the video, I was like, oh my gosh, look at her dancing and stuff. So I screen recorded it and I sent it to another one of our friends, and I was like, she thinks she bad, but I meant it in like a funny way, you know, like I wasn't trying to talk about her in a bad way. It was like a joke, you know, but I didn't want to hurt her feelings or nothing like that. And I wasn't trying to be shady. And so, I think she ended up texting me, and I was like, that's funny that you just text me, because I just seen your thing to what you call it. Like, I told her myself, like, yeah, I wasn't. And she came back and she was like, I said I wasn't gonna say nothing, but then I am trying to speak up for myself. Like I felt like that was shady, and like you made me feel like you was kind of talking about me behind my back, or whatever. And so I just but I had to validate. I had to be like, you know what, I was wrong for that. Even if my intention
Yes.
wasn't
Mm-hmm.
to make you feel some type of way, I was wrong for that, and I had to be like, I'm sorry for making you feel like that. And a lot of times people be like, that wasn't my
Yeah.
intention. It's how I meant it. So it don't matter. Like the fact that
Yeah. Instead of going on the defense,
so
just
in
hear
that
the
way,
person out. Right.
validating people, that's a big one. When people come to you and tell you things, like even if you don't agree, validate what they say and be like, if you don't agree, like, let me sit with this. Like right now I can't really touch on
Yeah.
this, but let me sit with it. Let me get back to you. Let me pray about it, and let me ask God, like, God, is this, if
Mm-hmm.
I was in the wrong, please show me. I think that's another way
Yeah.
to create safe spaces. Did I answer it?
Yes, you did. That was awesome. So, wow, it's 8:17. This conversation was like so good. I think it was so good and it's so needed because especially as us, we're purpose-driven entrepreneurs, but then on top of that, like the women that we are helping, the men and women that we're helping, like they see us as the answer to their prayers. Like it's people that are connected to you and your experiences. So it's important that you do the groundwork because I don't want to put pressure on you, but
Yeah,
you're responsible for some folk out there, if you like it or not.
that's
That's
fact.
just how it's set up. I mean, that's what it is. That's facts. But is it any last words of advice that you would like to give our community about healing through transparency? I mean, through
I want to
vulnerability.
say be patient with yourself. If vulnerability is not something that you are familiar with, it's not something that feels good, it may take you some time. So be patient with yourself. Ask God to give you discernment on who you can be vulnerable with. Seek out therapy to learn those skills. I think a lot of people think therapy is just, oh, I'm crazy, or, like, no, like you can go to
Right.
therapy and learn skills. Like I'm having difficulty communicating to people when I've done wrong. Therapists can help you. They help you through those transitions, just like me. I'm helping men and women when they go through these breakups not to wallow in pain. So be patient with yourself. And then also keep in mind that it's a process, it's a journey. You're on, so you don't have to rush the
Mm-hmm.
process. You don't have to go fast. Like take it at your pace. Don't cripple yourself, but take it at pace yourself. And, and also remember that
Yes.
healing, that's my phrase. Healing is a love dance with the creator. So as you take, like when he throw it, then you go,
Wow.
you take a dance move, he got one. Like you're both just kind of in sync and grooving. And the more that you do that, the more you heal, the more you gel, the more y'all be in sync. So remember that. Like take it slow and go out there and get your healing.
Wow, I love that, Shanice. Thank you so much. Oh, let
You can
everyone
find
know where they
me
can
on
find you.
Instagram, and sad to say that I'm not the most active on Instagram, but Shanice Michelle. You can find me on Facebook under Shanice Michelle. I have two pages. They're both Shanice Michelle. One is my personal and one is my business, but it really don't matter. Like I post the same stuff. I am working on building my own private practice. So eventually I'll have, my information out, but like and follow me for now. I'm on TikTok too
Yes,
at Shanice
and
Michelle too.
after this, yeah, and after this conversation, you're gonna have to come. Gonna have to show up because the people need this. Like, this is what we need. We need these reminders. We need this community. We
Yep.
need the
Yep.
accountability,
I'm
and we
glad
need the
you did
support.
this because it puts a fire under me. I do need to show up because I show up for my clients and that be about it. But it's other people that I need to reach. So I need to be showing up.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much. But this was episode 7 of our Built on Purpose series, and I'm so excited. We have 3 episodes left before the season ends. But click the link in my bio. join the email list so you can get all of our new things that are coming, more inspiration and business tips. And stay tuned because at 9 p.m., that's like in about 30 minutes, one of my friends is going to put me in a hot seat and ask me a bunch of questions. Yes. So if you guys have questions for me or want to know about faith and business and entrepreneurship and all that good stuff, come back here 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because I'm going to be in the hot seat. And yeah, that's going to be interesting because it's a guy. So it's not even a woman. Like all of my clients are women. So my friend was like, oh, I think this would be a good opportunity. Like I'm a dude. Like you be helping me too. But I'm all right. No problem.
Thank
I'm
you
up for the challenge. You're welcome. So I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Built on Purpose. And we'll see you back next week.